always thought we had a good marriage. Not perfect but stable. We met in college, and for the first few years, it was everything you'd expect. Laughter, adventure, and plans for the future. We got married young, bought a house in the suburbs, and had our son, Ethan. Life fell into a pattern. She worked from home as an interior designer. I had a stable job in IT. Ethan was 12 now. Bright, curious, a little too observant sometimes. He had this way of asking questions that felt deeper than they should have been. Like the time he casually asked me, "Did you and Mom used to go on more dates?" I laughed it off, told him grown-ups get busy sometimes. But he just nodded like he knew something I didn't. I didn't think much of it. Sarah and I weren't arguing. We still shared meals, watched the occasional movie together, and exchanged the usual small talk about bills and school reports. But something had shifted. There was a distance between us that neither of us addressed. Polite silence. Fewer hugs. Kisses that felt like routine instead of affection. I figured it was just marriage evolving. People grow up, grow older. You stop being passionate teenagers and start being functioning adults. That's normal, right? One Saturday morning, Ethan was building a Lego set at the kitchen table. I brought him breakfast and he asked, "Do you think it's weird when people say they love someone but act like they don't?" Pause. "What do you mean?" He shrugged. "Just something I heard on TV." But I knew it wasn't about TV. Still, I didn't let it bother me. I focused on work, responsibilities, the daily rhythm of life. Sarah had taken on more clients lately, or so she said. She was out more often, sometimes coming home after Ethan's bedtime. When I asked, she always had a quick explanation. I trusted her. At least I wanted to. I remembered how she used to call me in the middle of the day just to say hi. That had stopped months ago. I remembered how she used to touch my arm when she passed by me. Now, she barely looked up from her phone. Maybe I was imagining things. Maybe we both were just tired. I wanted to believe that. Ethan came home from school one day with a drawing. He didn't say anything, just put it on the fridge and walked away. It was a picture of 3 people, our family. But we weren't smiling. The dad had a speech bubble over his head that said, "Why?" It unsettled me more than I expected. I stared at it for a long time, wondering what he was trying to say. I didn't ask. I thought maybe we needed a vacation. Or a date night. Something to reconnect. I looked at her one night while she scrolled through her phone in bed, and I almost reached out to her. Almost said something. But the words didn't come. We just turned off the lights and went to sleep. And that silence said more than anything else could. It started becoming harder to ignore. Sarah was always distracted, always busy. Her phone never left her side. She used to leave it charging on the kitchen counter. Now, it was always face down or in her pocket. She smiled more, but not at me. I noticed she started wearing perfume again, the one she used to wear when we were dating. But never on the days we were together. Only when she went to client meetings. One evening, she said she had a meeting across town and wouldn't be back until late. Ethan was already in bed when I heard the garage door open earlier than expected. I walked downstairs quietly, thinking maybe something happened. But I heard her talking. Her voice was soft, intimate, and not meant for me. I stepped closer. She was on the phone, whispering, laughing. Then silence. I stood there in the hallway. She never knew I heard. I didn't say anything. I told myself I was being paranoid, that I had no proof, and confronting her would only make things worse. Kept hoping I was wrong. I kept remembering the early years, the life we built. I didn't want to break something we spent over a decade building. But I couldn't unsee the signs. Ethan's questions became sharper. Do people stop loving each other even if they promised not to? I asked him why he was asking. He shrugged and said, "Just wondering." He looked disappointed when I didn't say more. Like he was expecting me to understand something he wasn't ready to say. He had started acting different. Quieter. His teachers mentioned he seemed distracted. He'd come home and go straight to his room. When I checked on him, he was always drawing or writing. One day I glanced at his notebook left open on the table. A short line caught my eye. Sometimes I hear them lie, but I pretend I don't. Felt like a punch in the gut. That night I lay awake thinking about everything. The change in Sarah. The sadness in Ethan's eyes. The distance between all of us. I thought about every moment I brushed things off, every time I made excuses for her behavior. I had wanted to protect our family, but I was starting to realize I'd just been avoiding the truth. There was a dinner she missed. Ethan had cooked with me, something simple, spaghetti. He was proud of it. He even set the table. She texted she couldn't make it back in time. Emergency project, she said. Ethan didn't say much. Just poked his food around his plate and asked, "Why does she always have emergencies?" I didn't know what to say. Later that week I came home early. Her car was gone, but her laptop was still on the kitchen counter. Something about that didn't make sense. I checked the calendar she used for work appointments. There was nothing scheduled for that day. I stared at that empty space like it could give me an answer. But I already knew. The truth was creeping in. Not loud, not sudden. Just slow and undeniable. It was a Saturday morning. The kind where nothing feels off but everything is. Ethan and I were having breakfast. He was quiet, stirring his cereal. Then, without looking up, he asked, "Dad, if you know Mom is in love with someone else, why are you still here?" Froze. My spoon stopped midair. I didn't understand the question at first. Or maybe I didn't want to. I asked him what he meant. He looked at me, serious and calm, and said, "I saw her. Last week. After school. I followed her." My chest tightened. He continued, "She wasn't at a client meeting. She was in a car with a man. They were holding hands. She kissed him. He didn't cry. He didn't look angry. Just tired. Like he'd been carrying this secret alone, waiting for me to catch up." I asked why he didn't tell me sooner. He shrugged. "I thought if I said it out loud, it would make it worse." He said he kept hoping it wasn't what it looked like, that maybe it was a mistake. But every day he saw her smiling at her phone, laughing when she thought no one was watching, and not once was it with us. He said, "She used to laugh like that with you." I didn't know how to respond. I wanted to protect him. I wanted to shield him from the ugliness of adult betrayal, from the ache of watching someone you love choose someone else. But he'd already seen too much. I tried to tell him that relationships are complicated, that sometimes people make choices they regret, that it doesn't mean they don't love their family. He shook his head. Love isn't supposed to feel like a secret. I had no answer to that. He asked me if I was going to leave. I told him I didn't know. I wasn't ready to say anything definite. All I could do was promise that I'd never leave him, that whatever happened between his mom and me, he would always be my priority. He didn't say much after that. Just nodded and went back to eating his cereal like he hadn't just dropped a bomb that shattered everything. I sat there, trying to process the weight of what I'd been denying. My son knew before I admitted it to myself. He saw the truth I'd tried to ignore. The betrayal wasn't just mine. It had spilled over into his world, and I had done nothing to stop it. Later that day, I walked past the kitchen and noticed Sarah's phone buzzing on the counter. A name flashed on the screen. It wasn't saved under a contact, just a number, but the preview of the message was enough. Same time next week. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. There was no more pretending. No more waiting for proof. Ethan had already given me what I refused to face. And now, everything that came next was on me. That evening, I sat across from Sarah and asked her directly. No accusations, no anger, just a simple question. Is there someone else? Her face changed instantly. She didn't deny it. She didn't try to lie. She just looked down and nodded. It was quiet for a long time. She said it wasn't planned. That it started out innocent. Talks with a client, shared stories, then feelings. She said she felt seen, heard, something she hadn't felt in a while. I asked if she ever stopped to think how it would affect Ethan. That's when she started crying. She said she never meant for it to get this far, never wanted to hurt anyone. But it had gone too far, and now she didn't know how to pull it back. I didn't yell. I didn't even feel angry in that moment. Just empty. Like everything I'd built, everything I'd believed about our family, had been slowly hollowed out behind my back. We talked about Ethan, about how much he already knew. That hit her hard. She said she never wanted him involved, never imagined he'd notice. I told her he didn't just notice. He understood. He saw everything and kept it to himself because he didn't want to break our home. That silence of his. It wasn't confusion. It was protection. He was protecting us while we failed to protect him. She asked what I wanted to do next. I told her I didn't have that answer. But I knew we couldn't keep living like this. Not for our sake. Not for his. She agreed to move out for a while. Time to think, space to reflect. We told Ethan together. He didn't ask many questions. He just said, "I already knew," and walked away. The house felt quieter without her, but not heavier. There was a kind of peace in the honesty, even if it came with pain. Ethan and I found a rhythm. We cooked together. He helped with laundry. We played board games in the evenings. We weren't trying to fill a void. We were just existing without lies for the first time in months. One night he asked me if I was okay. I told him not always, but I was trying. He said, "I'm glad you didn't lie to me." That stayed with me. The strength it took for him to be honest, to confront something even I couldn't, humbled me. Sarah and I started therapy separately. Not to fix the marriage, but to understand how we got here. We're still co-parenting. We're civil. Talk. We're trying to be better for Ethan, even if we're not together. And somehow that feels like a kind of success. Looking back, the most surprising part wasn't the betrayal. It was my son, his clarity, his strength, his honesty. He saw what I didn't. He faced what I couldn't. When he asked me that question, it cracked everything open. But it also gave me a reason to rebuild. Not the marriage. Myself. For him. For both of us.